Welcome to the Self-Care and Burnout panel here. I guess I am now your moderator. My name is Andy Craig, and I am with Andy Craig Speaks, theandycraig.com. And I guess I'll start with a little bit of intro about myself and have the panelists do a little bit of intro as well. I am a master coach with the Zig Ziglar Corporation, Ziglar Legacy Certified Speaker Trainer as well. I've been working in the area of burnout, beating burnout, and walking people from really where it is that they are right now to the results that they want to create for the last 15 years. So excited to be here, and we'll start with names that I'm not currently remembering here. Kyra, I think? Yeah. Kira, okay, let's go right here to Kira.
Good morning, everybody. Nice to be here. Thank you for the intro.
Absolutely.
My name is Kira Montague. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I have an Ayurvedic center, hotel, and small resort in the Dominican Republic where I live and work treating people Ayurvedically, growing the plants that we use in the medicines, making the foods, and educating people around the country on how they can live healthier, better lives, and evidently dealing with burnout pretty much every single day in some way. Not always executive, because not everyone's an executive who comes through the door, but definitely I would say most of humanity these days is pretty burnt out. So looking forward to talking about this.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Hi. Let's give her a round of applause. That was brilliant. Well done. I'm Rochelle Rutherford, and I'm actually really excited to be here on this panel. I think it's very relevant. I think it's an important topic. I'm a mother of 6, and I'm on my 17th day straight working where I have not seen my children or my family. Wow. Just got back from Peru and flew straight to Nevada. So this is very relevant to me, just even in the very moment. So I'm excited to be here, and I've witnessed executives who have burnout. I've been on the other side of that, of someone coming in to take care of an organization when major health crises have taken place with leadership within organizations that I've worked for. I've been in the room when those emergencies have taken place. And this is a very real topic and something I care about, and I'm glad that we're here, and I'm excited to be here on the panel.
I am excited to be here with all of you, and just honored to have you all in the audience. My name is Layla Morco-Zissis, and I'm the owner of Layla Morco-Zissis LLC. We are a professional coaching company located in New Orleans. I am the founder and managing director of Like-Minded Ladies, which is a nonprofit women's business organization that supports women both personally and professionally. We need both in order to help with stress and all the good things. I'm faculty at Georgetown University working with students who are getting their board certifications for their own health and wellness coaching certifications. And the WHO has now officially classified burnout as a diagnosis. So I have lots of executives that I've been working with that are actually out on FMLA because of stress and burnout. So this topic is relevant, it is timely. I'm a victim of stress and burnout, and I actually am a cancer survivor, and I think a lot of that stress and burnout led to my cancer. So working with my own clients, I definitely understand a lot of what they're experiencing and what they're going through, and this is a chronic problem, not just for leadership, but all the way up to C-suite and down to the mailroom. I mean, every level and every business, people are struggling. So I'm glad that we're talking about this.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, yeah, go ahead. Round of applause for everyone up here. One of the first things that comes to my mind, and I will ask the question, then we'll go in reverse order, and then I'll go ahead and answer the question that I posed here. One of the first things that comes to my mind when it comes to stress and burnout is simply knowing what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it. What suggestions do our panelists here have for determining the direction that you're going in beating that burnout? What does that look like for you? What thoughts do you have on that?
So when I start recognizing burnout in clients, they are coming and they're saying things like, I need work-life balance. I need help with organization. They're not even understanding and noticing that they're at that stage of burnout yet. They're like, I'm stressed. They're talking about their symptoms. And I'm like, well, can I share something with you? And, I'm curious. Have you ever considered, do you feel like you might be burned out? And then once we go into that, it's kind of like a big aha. They don't even realize that they're burning, well, they know they're burning the candle at both ends. Something has to change, but they're not realizing the toll that it's taking on their body, their mind, and literally their soul. So those are just kind of the first things that I start to notice when somebody is coming in that is really struggling. So just that kind of verbiage is the first thing that I notice.
Awesome. Thank you. Go ahead, Rochelle.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. I think that's really important. A lot of times we don't see the signs, but I think for me, one of the things that I have to look at, and I encourage other people to look at as well, is I don't believe there's work-life balance. I think that you're in the moment. You know, you're in the moment. You're at work and you're given 150%. You know, at work, and then when you're at home, you got to unplug from work and you got to give 150% to your children. And then additionally to that, I would say there's other things that we got to look at. We have to look at spirituality and mental health. When are you creating moments of stillness? When are you creating moments where you're out in nature and you just have time to just allow your mind to rest, and that you just feed that inner being, your soul, with things that are uplifting for you, whether that's meditation, whether that's music, whether that's just going to a park and swinging on a swing, but it's taking moments to just pour into yourself where no one is asking anything of you, and it's just you and yourself and evaluating yourself. The other thing I would say is with physical health, a lot of times that's the very last thing that we take care of, taking care of our bodies, and our bodies are what house our mind, it houses our soul, it leads to chronic illness when we don't take care of our bodies and we just keep all that stress in. And so how are we actually releasing that stress, and what are healthy ways that we can do that? And then relationships. What types of relationships do we have? Do we have connections with friends? Do we have hobbies? Do we have things that we love to do that are just areas where we can spend time doing other things outside of work, and just creating moments intentionally in our life to be able to just have a purposeful life that's just not, at the end of the day, businesses will come and go. Businesses will die. They will live. There's a never-ending supply of emails. It'll never end. You can do it 24/7, but at some point you have to say, if I'm not really truly living, then what am I doing? What am I doing if all I'm giving is giving, and I'm not replenishing and refilling up my cup? And so those are some of the first things when I start to feel overwhelmed. I start looking at my life and evaluating those things. Am I doing any of those things in my life? Or do I need to stop and create some space? And you have to be very self-aware. And so self-awareness is very important and key.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Agreed. From an Ayurvedic perspective, it's all about finding balance. So you can call it what you like, burnout, stress, heart disease. In the end, or in the beginning, from the Ayurvedic perspective, it's all about looking at the person and trying to help them find balance in their mind, in their body, in their spirit, in their emotions. So I would say that everything that you guys have just said is completely relevant and valid. What are you telling yourself? What are you saying? What's the first thing you think when you wake up in the morning? So yes, the moments of silence, yes, breathing exercises, yes, meditation, and even just a minute. We have this idea that we have to go to these classes and spend an hour doing yoga, or we have to go and sit with our eyes closed and have half an hour of total whiteness and Zen. That's not necessary. In order to address any kind of imbalance, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes in the beginning is enough, because it will make a difference. If you stop, find stillness, take a deep breath through your nose, which helps to calm the nervous system. One deep breath, it would be better to do more, but even one is going to actually center you in that moment. Presence, finding presence. But with regard to your question and how do you start to see it? I think any kind of imbalance, in essence, is a form of burnout. In Ayurveda, we look at different constitutions, and so if you have this constitution and you have, if you have a more fiery constitution, then probably you're going to be more irritable, or you're going to have digestive issues, or acidity, or maybe some heart kind of fluttering or stuff going on. If you have more of an airy constitution, it might be more anxiety or fear or insomnia, not sleeping so well, or jittery. If you have more of a watery constitution, it may be that you're just, you don't have have the energy to get up. You're feeling more heavy. You don't want to move. You're a bit more apathetic. You're a little bit more depressed. So everyone's different in the way that they express it and show it. But I think ultimately, anytime we're out of balance in any way, we're already taking our system into a form of burnout, because balance is what keeps us young and bouncy and with energy and healthy and vibrant in our minds and vital and joyful. So it's really about finding for yourself what you are, and then finding the ways and the things and the activities and the foods and the lifestyle and the time of day makes a difference. Obviously, what you eat, a lot of people think healthy food is one thing. It's different for everybody. What's healthy for me may not be so healthy for you. And so when we begin to understand and listen to our bodies, coming back to, so many of us live, this is somewhere and this is somewhere else. And it's like, no, we have to listen to our bodies, and our body is telling us all the time, all the way through the day, this is good, this isn't so good. But we've lost the ability to listen to that, or at least we've lost the connection with our bodies, because we're so kind of living in the future or living in the past, and the body's right here, right now. So it all comes back to everything that you say, and I'm looking forward to what you have to say, Andy, because I think it's so relevant.
That's
Fire
awesome,
away.
Andy. I love that.
For me as a coach, one word stood out over here, and that was purpose or purposeful. And if you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, low energy, or any number of other words that you can as a CX, whatever position that you've got there, the one question that I've got for you is, are you operating in your given purpose? 87% of individuals on this planet never find their created purpose. Every single one of us has unique giftings, skills, talents, etc. However, we very rarely focus those in on what is it that I'm here to do. If you're feeling any of those emotions, it could very well be either A, you're not on purpose, whatever that looks like for you, or B, if you've got a team around you, they're not empowered to do what they need to do to take the stress and the load off of you. So it may be a matter of transferring responsibility from you to your team. And coaching can take care of that. Any one of us up here can walk you through all that stuff. So with all of that, I had a question, and hopefully this question's going to come right back around here, and I'll start over here with a good doctor. What other suggestions do you have for what in your specialty? You're talking about the health benefits here. Maybe we can all answer this here. How vital, and maybe this is a question that it's almost a no-brainer, but how vital is health to our emotional well-being when we're taking in the right foods or exercise or however it is that we work in our physical body? How much does that have an impact on where we are emotionally, psychologically, spiritually moving forward?
A huge impact, but I would love to start with where we are emotionally is affecting our physicality as well. So it's totally interconnected. What we eat is very important for our emotions, for our, for how our body. What we eat is going to affect negatively or positively our growth, our thinking processes, our reaction time, our vitality, our sleep, and all the rest of it. How that affects our emotions completely. Having said that, your emotions are going to govern what you're eating, at what time you're eating, what you're drawing towards, because that's going to make me feel better. It's going to make me feel better in the moment emotionally, but later on physically not so much. So I think you have to look at the whole picture, not just one aspect. That's a very holistic way of coming about anything. But I really believe that what you eat and how you think go hand in hand together, because the happier you are, you're also going to make healthier choices with what you're putting into your body. And as we all know, the food that we eat is the medicine that we're feeding ourselves every day. So when we're coming at it from a more connected and healthy mindset, we're going to be choosing foods that nourish us and that make us feel better generally. So it's a vicious happy circle or not so happy circle, depending on which way you're coming at it from.
Totally agree with that one. Go right ahead, Rochelle.
Thank you. I absolutely agree with you. And I think when we look at our life, and I'm going to direct this to women, and not that this doesn't apply to men, but it definitely applies to women. As women, we're caretakers. We take care of everyone around us. And so when we're looking at health, oftentimes we are the last people that we take care of. You take care of all the sick children, and then finally the mom's the last one to get sick, and we're trying to take care of ourselves. But we don't spend the time to care and nurture ourselves. And I think we have to ask ourselves, when we get busy, when we're doing so much for everyone else, and even in the workplace, when we're making sure that everything gets done and we're taking care of the team, and we have team members that maybe are not empowered, we need to share that load. We need to say, at least for me, I always ask myself, am I the only person that can do this thing? Am I the only one? Or are there other people on my team that can do this thing? And how do I expand my capacity? And what is the most important things that I need to be working on as the CEO of this organization? And then I need to look at the other things, and I need to empower the other people on my team. And sometimes that means letting go some of the people on your team, because you may empower them, but they don't have the skill set, the training. Maybe the organization's outgrown their skill set. But you have to have the right people on your team. And when you have the right people on your team, you are just flying. Your capacity can expand, and when you're living in purpose, then you're joyful. You're joyful at what you're doing. Your team is joyful, and you feel empowered and you feel invigorated. But then you also have to take those moments, and when you're not taking care of yourself, you have to ask yourself why. Why am I putting these things at more importance than taking that 30 minutes to go on that walk, or to take that time to take care of my body, or prepare a healthy meal, and ask yourself, what am I putting above that, and why am I doing that? Why am I putting other things, people, responsibilities above my health? But when we lead with our health, then we're empowered to do more. That's bringing our best selves, to our organizations, to our families, to the world. And there's no price you can put on health. I had my appendix rupture 3 weeks ago. Wow. And when I was sitting in the hospital, I was just like, it's true. It's true what they say, that you can do a million things, and you can go 100 miles an hour, and there's nothing that will stop you dead in your tracks than when you have a health crisis, or you have a health event, and you're powerless. You're powerless. And so be intentional about how you spend your time, and in nurturing yourself, your body, and taking care of yourself mentally, physically first. That has to be first to be able to live your highest purpose and to give all that you can give to this world.
Yeah, 100% put your oxygen mask on first, right? Totally. That was beautiful. And the emotion of the things are the things that make you question, like, who can I give this to? What can I take off my plate? And that's something that I really work with my clients, is focusing and honing in. Like, your emotions are powerful information. That we have good, bad, ugly all day long. Use that as power. Pause. Take that 1 minute. Get out of your heightened nervous system. Breathe. It only takes a mindful moment. And I think to bring you back into your parasympathetic nervous system, that'll give you those Zen moments throughout the day, so that when it gets stressful, if you're having those micro moments where you're taking that for yourself, doing a little bit of breath work, getting outside, being in nature, literally 1 to 5 minutes throughout the day, that can stave off burnout incredibly. But also, what are those thoughts that you're thinking? That's huge. Emotions are powerful. It's powerful information for you to pay attention to your body, your mind. What are you telling yourself? Do you need to pause? What do I need to do differently? How do I want to breathe? But that's the biggest thing, is the emotions. And what I do with my clients is to really work with them to notice, investigate, and then take action based on right thinking and right thought. But again, it's that parasympathetic nervous system where it's like they're running up here constantly, and it's hard, to bring it back down. So I love all this.
Awesome. I would follow that up with, just from my own health journey, about a year ago, my mom passed away back in December of 22, and I found myself a year later, after gaining 30 pounds, going, I need to make some health changes here. Following some direction of my wife and some training she's been through, 6 months later, I went from a high of 179 down to a base of 147, maintaining 150 right now. And I know that I've got a whole lot more energy to do what it is that I need to do. It's the foods that we eat. And I've got to pay attention to my own energy level with all the seminars that I'm doing, because with all the driving and past couple of days flying that I've been doing here, my energy is taking a major hit. Now, my natural inclination, correction, I won't say natural, my default is caffeine, as probably many people in here is. Now, it gives me an immediate impact, but later on I'm paying for it. It's better for me to be taking care of that with proper amount of sleep, which we all need to get proper amount of sleep. That's going to vary for each individual, with the right foods that we're taking in. That way we can manage the stress and manage the emotions that were just pointed out over here, because if we become too emotionally driven in our eating, that's going to have a negative impact on our energy throughout the day and really throughout our week as we go. I'll throw out a general question here. Where is my timer? I can't see anything up here. Where are we at on time? Oh, we still got major time. Okay, cool. I have no sense of time up here, so I got to figure out where it's going here. So, cool. Starting over here with Layla, what's one tip that you want to throw out right now for recovering from burnout, pressing through burnout? Pressing through is probably not the right word, but just noticing where you are, working through that one, and managing that stress, or maybe even discharging that stress, or however it is that you want to take that.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is how, when people recognize and go, oh, wait, okay, I think I am burned out. Like, a lot of people, they don't know it. I think that's the first step. The first thing is understanding and realizing, like, there's a problem here. Something has to change. And giving themselves permission to think about what that is. Far too often, we're just, again, it's that burnout. We're in the adrenal. We're on the go, 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 the run, run, run. We don't take that minute just to step back and say, what do I need to do differently? So that emotion, if you're uncomfortable, that's information. What do you need to do differently? Emotion is your cue to pay attention. So that's my first thing. Investigate that emotion. What are you feeling? What is it telling you?
Awesome. Go ahead, Rochelle.
I think for me, my advice would be that to remember, you're the creator of your life. You know, oftentimes we think we're out of control. You know, we're just in a boat, you know, flopping right to left in the big waves that are coming, and that we just have to, you know, go through the ocean, and just wherever the ocean takes us, you know, whatever the highs and lows, we just have to, you know, roll along with it. And that's just not true. It's not true. We can either choose to be the thermostat, or we can choose to be the thermometer. You know, so the thermometer tells you what the temperature is of the room. The temperature could be really high, and we're at 90 degrees, and everyone's burning up, and everyone's angry and mad, and we can say, no, we're setting the thermostat at 70. And you walk in the room, and you set the thermostat at 70, and you don't carry on your shoulders all of the stress, all of the chaos that's going around you, or all of the tension. And we say, no, I'm going to go take that maybe 30 seconds or that minute to breathe, and I'm walking into that room, and I'm setting the temperature. And this is how I'm choosing to operate. I'm not going to be thrown about the waves and just be subject to life. No, I get to be the creator of my life. I get to decide. I get to be intentional, and I get to be purposeful. And so all chaos and all hell could be breaking loose around you, and you get to choose how you're going to be. You get to choose what you take home with you at the end of the day, and you are in control, and it's up to you, and you get to decide that. And yes, sure, there are stressful things out there, but we get to choose how we internalize those things or we don't internalize those things, and that's a choice. And so I choose to live a life of freedom, and I would encourage you to choose that as well.
Love it. Go ahead, Doctor.
Aho. So how about we just close our eyes? Just let's do it. 30 seconds, here we go. Close your eyes. And breathe through your nose. If your nose is blocked, please breathe through your mouth. But if you've got, if you breathe through your nose, inhale. And as you inhale, don't tense. Just inhale as deeply as you can and feel your belly expand. And then exhale nice and slow, just slowly, just letting all the tension, or some of the tension at any rate, just begin to relax. And let's do it one more time. Let's take a nice deep inhale. And then exhale nice and slow through your nose, just let it go. And whenever you feel ready, just open your eyes. And just take a moment to check in and see how that feels. Because that's just presence. And it took less than 30 seconds. Maybe it took a few more. But presence is such a way to just, in any given moment. You know, I completely agree with everything that we're talking about, but sometimes when we're in the heat of the moment, we just don't remember all this stuff. But what we are doing all day long, 50,000 times, 20,000 times, depending on how you're doing it, is breathing. What most of us are not necessarily doing is breathing correctly in a way that's going to calm us down. Most of us are breathing in a way that's actually stressing us out more. So the breath that we just took, and even if you're doing it through the mouth and you're breathing into your belly and you're moving your diaphragm and you're expanding your chest, it's going to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, calm your sympathetic nervous system. It's going to drop your heart rate is going to slow down just a little bit. It's going to bring your mind, if you're paying attention to the breath, into the present moment. And it's, you know, it's easy to say it's easy, but you are breathing anyway, so why not make it an intentional breath just to bring you at any given moment of any day into that space where you feel better, right? Yeah. That's all.
Calmer.
Excellent. Yeah. There's 3 items that have just come up for me as we've been talking here, and it's 3 A's. If you're a note taker, go ahead and write these down. It's admit, ask, and action. I got them reversed there. Whenever you're in an overwhelmed situation, first of all, admit, and which is something so many of us have a hard time doing, simply admit you're in overwhelm. There's nothing wrong with it. It happens. Secondly, ask yourself why. Why am I feeling this way? Do I have too much on my plate? Is my team not doing what they're doing? Am I not training my team? Just check in with yourself. And then take an action. What is the best thing? And use your intuition. I would personally say to pray. Pray about what it is that you need to be doing, who you need to be talking to, what team member can be facilitating or taking whatever it is that you're working off your plate, just depending on that situation there. But admit that you are feeling the emotion that you're feeling, because that's the first step. Any addict will tell you the very first step that you have to do in overcoming an addiction is to admit that you've got it. I'm not calling anyone in here an addict, but just acknowledge that you've got that emotion. Ask yourself, what's going on? Check in with yourself. Our emotions are very powerful indicators of what's going on within us, especially mentally and emotionally. And we are the masters of our emotions, or at least we're supposed to be. The emotions are a very powerful tool. They can either rule us or we can rule them. If we choose to rule us, then they are powerful tools that we can use to create some outstanding things in life. And then simply take action, whatever that action is in that particular moment. So that's my one tip that's in 3 different categories or steps in this particular case here. So I'm going to call an audible and ask our journalist what she's got on her mind, because she's done this kind of stuff before. And what questions are popping up for you as we're talking here?
I like, being able to recognize those early signs. And some of the things that are popping up in my head and listening to everyone is first being able to recognize that you're in that space and you need to pause, right? So, and then asking yourself, what do I need to do differently? Then for you all, what is the third? Well, take action. But what would an action be that you would think would help? Well, I guess every situation is a little bit different. I'm thinking, Andy, you kind of put me on the spot here. It's okay.
And I was put on the spot.
Yeah, I know. But I'm also, something that has been bubbling in listening as well is, being able to admit authentic leaders, when you can live in your authenticity, and again, talking about doing what you are passionate about, but if you can be an authentic leader, if you can be an authentic person, that helps reduce burnout and overwhelm, because you're not being fake, right? So many people are not showing up as who they truly are. People are faking.
I got to jump in on that for a
Go
moment
for
here.
it.
We've got 3 women up here on the panel that are doing an absolutely amazing job with this, and you were just talking about authenticity. And speaking from the male perspective here, this is something that I think too few men are able to do well, be authentic and be vulnerable. We think we've got to put on this mask, this shield, this whatever it is that says, I can handle everything that comes at me. I don't need any help. I'm a man, and doggone it, I'm going to be a man in this thing here. And to me, if you are an authentic man, if you are a vulnerable man, I don't mean you have to get all touchy-feely and everything like that. There's nothing wrong with that, but most men are not wired that way. But be authentic and transparent enough to say, team, or whoever it is that you are working with, I don't have all the answers. By the way, none of us have all the answers. That's why there's a panel up here. We don't have all the answers. But as a team here, we are able to come up with the answers. Let's get together as a mastermind. And show of hands, who here is familiar with the mastermind principle? Anyone in here? Okay, I've got a few more hands than I thought. That's awesome. Masterminding simply means you all come together, however many more there are. It's two or more people coming together in the spirit of unity, saying our two minds together are going to create a whole lot more together than we are separately. And let's come together as a mastermind and work together for whatever that common purpose is here, because we'll create more together than we will separately. Didn't mean to take over the reins, but I kind of did. Go right ahead. Rochelle? Yeah, go ahead, Rochelle.
I just have something to add to that. I think in that authenticity and being a powerful leader, we have to empower through our example those that we work with. I think we set a culture of, is it okay to talk about that I'm feeling overwhelmed and I need some support, or I need some resources, or, for me personally, in my career, I started in a very male-dominated space, and I felt like I could never really talk about my family. I got pregnant 6 times during that time. I felt like I couldn't talk about my pregnancies. I couldn't talk about being sick or ill. It didn't feel like a safe place, or somehow it would seem like I was less committed because I was also a mom. And I'll just share one powerful thing that happened in my career is I had a really amazing leader, and he was a man who really loved his family. He was a father of 8 children, actually. And we were in a meeting, and I always just followed through on my commitments. If something was on the calendar, and my children all of a sudden had a play, or they had a little recital that was during the day, I always felt like, I made that commitment first. I can't cancel meetings. I need to show up for those things. And we were preparing for a meeting, and I got a quick call. My son was missing something from his costume, and so my boss overheard me, just trying to coordinate that really quick, and he says to me, "Why are you not at your son's play?" And I was like, "Well, we have this meeting, and this has been on the books for a long time. This is really important." And he's like, "Yeah, but why are you not at your son's play?" And I was like, "Well, this is important." And he said to me, he's like, "You need to go. You need to go." And I looked at him, and I was just kind of, like the meeting was starting in 5 minutes, and I had things I had prepared, I had to present, and he's like, go now, leave, And I was just so stunned that he took that type of leadership with me. And I just grabbed my things, and I cried all the way to my son's play. And that taught me such a powerful lesson about leadership, that we have to empower people. People are human beings. They have lives. They contribute so much to our companies, to what we are creating, what we are building as leaders. And we need to give love and compassion. And yes, at the end of the day, we got to get the job done. And if you have the right team, you got a committed, powerhouse team, and they all know what they have to do. But the most empowering thing that we can do is that we can give people permission to be human beings and to show love and compassion. And I think that starts with us as leaders. And so I realize we're talking about executives here, but we're at the top, and we set the tone, and we can empower an entire organization and create a movement within our organization if we choose to show up and be those authentic, powerful leaders.
Amen.
Can I respond to that?
Please.
I'm so glad that you had a boss like that, because one of the things that set me on a massive health journey was I had a horrible, this is when I was still, this guy, I quit because of him, and I went in, what an idiot. Anyway, this is back in 2010. My husband was diagnosed with MRSA. He was in the hospital, methicillin-resistant staph infection. Okay, it was in his knee. He was alert. None of the antibiotics were working. I was working full-time, PR executive, running around, going to the hospital, and I did not put my oxygen mask on first. This was when I was still in my 30s. I was still learning. I had not thought about coaching yet at this time. This was a catalyst that led me to that. And my boss was so unsupportive of my husband being in the hospital. He almost died. He was on home health for 3 months. His leg was almost amputated. This was the second of our health scares that we've been privy to in our marriage. Hopefully we are done with all of that. But anyway, he was horrible. And the amount of stress that he caused me, the amount of stress I put on myself because I was trying to meet unrealistic expectations and I was scared that I was going to get fired at that time. I'm so glad that you had that experience. That is authentic. The other stuff is deadly. It's not okay to be like that. I ended up gaining so much weight. I ended up putting on 70 pounds. We ended up having fertility issues after he was out of the hospital. We've had a lot of stuff because of this stress and this burnout. That's why it's so crucial that you get rid of it. It cannot be a part of your life. That, again, emotions are powerful indicators that a change needs to happen or you need to pay attention. So I just wanted to comment on that.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Doctor, you got anything to add?
I'd love to just add that the vibration of authenticity is actually higher than the vibration of love. So being authentic to yourself, as in true to yourself, ends up making you more loving, more connectable with a better leader, a better parent, and better to yourself. So
Thank you for saying
authenticity is
that.
a really, really powerful. It is the most powerful energy, and it draws you. If you think about authentic people, they just draw people to them because that energy is just pulling people in. So if you think about that, be authentic, truly authentic. You're doing yourself a huge favor.
That's absolutely amazing. Totally agree with all of that there. We have hit our 5-minute mark here, so I want to close up this panel here by allowing each of us to say if there's a suggestion or a way that if someone has a question, how can they contact you? What offering do you have? How can we help out our fellow leaders here in this room?
I just want to say, it takes a little step, right? Like to deal with burnout, to deal with stress and everything. Really, it's not this whole program. You can start small and start noticing a difference in your life. So reach out to anyone, coach, a therapist, a mindset coach, or even just attending, a local maybe breath work class or trying something out like that. Or just do some box breathing at your desk. Breathe in for 5, hold for 5, out for 5, hold for 5. Just do something. Start somewhere. That's it.
Awesome. Michelle?
Yeah, that's awesome. I think for me, I would encourage everyone to be intentional about your life. Think about the outcome you want to have. What's the relationship you want to have with your children? What's the type of feeling that you want to have physically in your body? Do you want to be able to, hike a 3-mile hike without heavy breathing? Do you want to feel peace and joy in your life? Do you want to live in the moment? And what's the outcome with that? What type of relationships do you want to have? What type of financial stability do you want to have? What type of physical health do you want to have? And what type of impact do you want to have on the world? And then reverse engineer into that. What does that look like every day for you to make progress in those areas? And I think when we break it down to something small with the end in mind of how we want to live and how we want to be in this world, then we can make steps every single day towards that. And so that our focus is not only on our careers or only on our work, but we are actually intentionally creating the life that we want to live every single day. And we take steps and action towards that every single day.
Awesome. Doctor?
Keep it simple. Yeah. Get out in nature, take a breath, hug someone, hug yourself. It's easy for me to say this is everything that I do, but ultimately from the Ayurvedic perspective, it's always come back to nature. And the nature that's outside, whether it's trees or this ocean or the desert or wherever you are, just get out in nature for a little bit of time, a minute, 2 minutes, half a day, whatever you can. And if you can't do that, then get back in touch with your own essential nature. So again, the simple stuff, breathing, eating well, taking a hot bath with some nice oil in it. Rub some oil into your body. It is unbelievably powerful, rubbing organic cold-pressed sesame oil into your body. If you've never done it, or if this sounds like woo-woo, just try it. Once, your nervous system relaxes, your neck pain gets better. So I could go into millions of keep it simple little things, but just keep it simple. And completely agreed, but if you take any one of any of these things, they are just little things, and one step, one breath, one thought, one word, one hug. It's all it takes to start.
Wonderful. This has been magnificent up here. I would encourage everyone to focus on what you're created for. Only 13% of people know what they're created for. Be part of that 13%. And if you don't know, talk to someone. People around you know what you're created for better than what we do. There's a saying that when you're inside the frame, you can't see what's going on. You got to step outside the frame. And too many times we're stuck inside the frame of our own lives, not realizing what it is that we have that allows us to move forward and create the awesome life that we're able to create. So focus on what it is that you're created for. I'll almost end here with a quote. I'm going to butcher it badly because I can't remember the full thing at the moment, even though I know it very well. We are endowed with the seeds of greatness, engineered for success, endowed with the seeds of greatness, and go create destiny by design is what it is, or something along those lines. I've completely butchered it. It's a Zig Ziglar quote, which I've completely butchered here. But anyway, if I can help you in any capacity, come talk to me here. Look me up, andycraigspeaks.com. I'd be happy to talk with you or talk with these wonderful ladies here. All of us are here to serve you in some capacity. So hand it over to, I don't even know who I'm handing this thing over to.
I'm your MC. I'll be here. We actually have some extended time for questions. So does anyone have any?
Sweet.
Beautiful. I'll run over. Don't you worry.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that wonderful talk. And I do apologize. I had to take a call really quick. One thing I wanted to add, if I may, to stress. We hold it in our bodies. I know you mentioned box breathing, which is great, and I know you mentioned keep it simple. Thank you for that. It's really about that. But another technique that really helps me a lot with my anxiety and stress is tapping. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If anybody is not familiar with what that is, you should look it up. Thank you. Yeah.
Tapping is wonderful. Yeah. If you guys haven't met Tyler out there yet, go check out Tyler. He's pretty amazing. I mean, and he doesn't just do tapping, but it's part of somewhat of his protocol.
Right, it is a protocol, yeah. Right, yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah, and thank you all for the talk. It was beautiful, wonderful, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Is anybody feeling burnt out? I'm wondering, I'm just curious. Is anybody burnt out here? Yeah? Yeah.
Is anyone not burnt out here?
Yeah, that's a better question, I think. Yeah, is anybody not burnt out here?
Anybody feeling less burned out being here?
Hi, I have a quick question. I've been reading a lot about building habits and everything that goes along with that. And one thing that is spoken about is cues. What are some of the things that you notice in the cues to where you need to decompress and just take a deep breath? What are some things that you notice in building your habits to manage stress?
I can jump in real quick. One of the first things when I work with people is we really focus on their energy levels. Like, how do they work, right? Are they lark? Are they night owl? How long are their ultradian rhythms, which are your ebbs and flows throughout the day? Where you need breaks, where you need to pay attention physiologically, you need to move, you need to do something different. So that's the first thing, is I get people to really pay attention to their energy levels, their individual energy levels, and what works for them. When do they need those micro moments? When do they need to have those mindful minutes to kind of decompress or reset, recalibrate throughout the day? So really getting familiar with how you work, how you flow, when are you best energetically, and then what does that look like throughout the day? What's your flow like? That's the first thing that I do. How do you operate?
Yeah, I want to add to that too. I like to take a preventative approach instead of a reactive. I think if you're intentional about your breathing and you know what those rhythms are, then you can intentionally, whether you're feeling stressed or not, I'm going to take a minute to breathe here today, And I think preventative helps us keep from moving to that space of burnout. I think it's important to set your day. So for me, praying is important for me, taking moments to breathe and to meditate before my day starts. Also, I practice a practice called conscious self-creation, where I've actually written down the woman I want to be. And I speak it into existence as if I'm already that woman.
The woman you are.
The woman I am, yes. If I'm a 5-star mom, I'm a 5-star mom who intentionally spends time with my children, who sends them notes and texts throughout the day, and communicates to my spouse that I love them. And I take time to hug them when I come home from work at the end of each day. So I set the intention, I speak it to in existence, and I set my day very intentional from the very beginning. And what I found for me personally is that helps set my day. When I skip those things, or when I don't take time for that, I notice it impacts my day. I come in less powerful, maybe not as authentic, but when I can drop into that and really connect with myself, my spirit, my soul, and then I can show up the most powerful version of myself, and then take those moments during the day to just kind of refill that cup as I'm moving throughout my day. And sometimes even before I transition from work into my house, if I pull into the garage, I might take, a couple minutes just to breathe, and then I may have a heavy load I just carried that day, but I need to walk in with excitement and joy for my children, as if I just woke up and I'm seeing them for the first time, and try to pour into them and create joy in their life. And so that's what I found for me, that creating those habits that work for you and then help support you throughout the day.
Anything from you, Doctor?
I'm listening.
I'll add a little bit here. There's 2 books that come to my mind that will probably help you out. Atomic Habits by James Clear, and then Choose to Win by Tom Ziglar. Both of them talk about habits. James Clear has been in the realm of creating habits, habit creation, and what it's done for him for probably 20 years. And he talks about not just creating habits, but what's referred to as habit stacking, which is one small habit and then stacked up with another small habit and stacked with another. And when you can get to that cue or that trigger that you're talking about there, that's going to set off a chain reaction of habits that will propel you through your day. If you're not already aware of it, we all have a paradigm that we operate in, or actually multiples of them, and they're all driven by habits. So if we know what our habits are or what we want them to be, we can create habits that serve us, or we can have habits that, we're serving. It's either the habit serving us or we're serving the habit, one of the two. And the question is, which way do you want to go? Do you want to have a habit that serves you? If so, be intentional in creating that habit. When you find that cue that's setting you off, find a way to turn that into a positive outcome, whatever that looks like for you, so you can move forward in creating the results that you want to create.
Yeah, and we are creatures of habit. So I agree with, I think, if you start your day from the minute you open your eyes, just take a moment before you move to just be present with yourself, sets you up in the right way. And having said all of that, when the cues that come for the habits that you're trying to change, you do the habits that you are trying to change. However, when you don't, be soft on yourself. It's okay. So today it didn't quite happen the way I wanted to. It's all good, because at least in the West, we have a very extremist mentality. I'm going to do new habits, but I didn't do it. It's out the window. It's not. We'll just try again tomorrow, or try again later, or and I think
keep in mind how long
that's
it takes to create a habit.
Right.
21 days to create, depending on who you listen to. It could take as long as 63 days for it to become set in stone.
Exactly. So being kind to yourself as you change your habits, or as you move from one to another, is a big part of self-care.
You might want to check out Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg as well. He's a Stanford researcher that wrote the book Tiny Habits, and you literally start tiny and build, and then don't give up. Start over. We make room for relapse in coaching. So be kind to yourself.
Absolutely.
So we're not doing the networking? No. Sure.
Yes, we can take another question.
We'll fit it in. So you guys are talking about your own individual experiences and so on, but what programs are you bringing in, or what are you doing for your people, your staff, your underlings, whatever you want to, however you want to gauge that, or even your contractors if you're working with them? What programs are you bringing in to help them deal with the same problem?
So bring in us. That's what you need to do. We're the coaches. We're the people that can like recognize and look at the individuals. We can see, team dynamics. We can see different, areas of, I mean, for me, when I go into companies and I work with wellness and teams and things like that, the first thing I do is I ask them to create a committee, right? And I start interviewing people. What's the theme at this company, right? What's the biggest thing that is going on, perhaps? I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I'm all in being authentic. I brain fart because of chemo and menopause. So I don't know if I was asking your question, but being like hearing from the people. What are the people saying? What do they need? Did that make sense? Okay, good. Thank you.
I would agree. We've brought in coaches into our organization. We have over 250 employees, and so we've brought in coaches as well as working with our vice president of HR to start creating opportunities and leadership and trainings for our staff. We also have a lot of internal committees. We're 87% female at our organization, and we've put committees together where we've put together pickleball challenges, and we've put together opportunities. We have a track right outside of our building or on the grounds of a hospital where we do steps, or we come together and we listen to our staff and our employees and hear about what they need. We work with children with disabilities and delays, so they pour a lot of emotion, spiritually, mentally, capacity, and compassion into the clients that we serve and their families, and they need that type of release so they can reset as well. And so we try to create a safe space for that, but we also are constantly evolving and learning and bringing new coaching, new trainings to our staff and empowering our staff to also create within their departments as well.
It's not a one-size-fits-all. We're all individual. So really good coaches, I think, get into the culture and kind of see and like dig in and talk and ask. And, that's kind of the first step to see what is needed. Yeah.
And a direct answer to your question, I've got like 6 programs I can bring in.
Yeah,
So it
exactly.
really depends on what the need is that you've got or the other organization has after talking with you and your staff, figuring out, okay, I've got this program that's going to address this particular need. And so it comes out of a conversation that we have to determine what it is that you need out of the resources that I have access to. Anything, Doctor?
Treat your employees like your family.
Yes.
I don't have a lot of employees, so I'm not running a huge business, but I have definitely found that every single employee has been with me since the beginning. And I can't say for sure, but they are family. We are all a family. So we work together like a family, which means that when clients and guests come in, and we have people staying, so they come to stay with us for anything from a day to a month, they feel like they've come into a family, which helps their healing process too. Sure, in a bigger company, I think that's harder, but it's, to me, it just, how would you like to be treated? Treat your employees as close to that as you can, and I think you're going to have a pretty good, you're going to be an authentic, loving, kind leader, and I think the world needs more of those these days.
Give it up for our panelists. Thank you so much, folks.